stage, Russia rages a nuclear arms race, testing deadly new missiles and submarines. Ukraine strike inside Russia with a secret weapon. The Kremlin is in shock. And the north, Finland mobilizes 15,000 troops on Russia's doorstep. The balance of power is shifting fast. It is the moment the Cold War turns hot. Welcome to Ukraine Today. I'm Zorislava Kolesnikova. Stay tuned, because what's happening now could change the world forever. The arms race returns. Russia tests nuclear missile and submarine. The arms race is back, and Russia is raising the stakes. After testing its Burevestnik nuclear missile in Severodvinsk, Moscow has now unveiled a new nuclear submarine, the Khabarovsk. Nuclear blackmail, threats and shows of force. The Kremlin is once again playing with fire. But how far is Putin ready to go this time, and who will stop him before it's too late?
The arms race has indeed begun. Nuclear blackmail continues. Following the test of the Burevestnik missile in Severodvinsk, a ceremonial launching of the nuclear submarine Khabarovsk was held at the Sevmash plant.
The nuclear submarine cruiser Khabarovsk is ready to leave the dock. Start moving.
According to Russian media, the Khabarovsk submarine can carry up to 12 unmanned nuclear torpedoes. Poseidon. Moscow claims that Poseidon is capable of operating at depths of up to 1,000 meters, and it can reach speeds of over 100 knots, making it difficult to detect and intercept. With their new torpedoes, the Kremlin's inhabitants are trying to intimidate NATO countries.
The development of the Burevestnik made it possible to conduct tests of the Poseidon. There is simply no equal to this weapon. The president oversaw this project from start to finish. He accompanied the project every step of the way. We see the result: an increase in the country's defense capability. And today, those abroad who wish us harm should be preparing to bow before our Supreme Commander-in-Chief, just so that they would use this weapon.
But in reality, this is just fantasy and empty bravado about yet another so-called unparalleled weapon. In reality, the Russian Navy, and especially its submarine fleet, lags decades behind its main competitor, the United States.
No one even comes close. No one can compare with us. Russia and China are 25 years behind the US in both quantity and quality of submarines. In December, a new Virginia-class submarine will be laid down.
While the Kremlin is launching ships into the water, Khabarovsk, the White House is announcing the largest modernization of the Navy in modern history. But even without this modernization, the US already has the most powerful naval and submarine fleet in the world.
The main component of the Russian Federation's Navy is its submarine fleet. But unlike the United States, the Russian Federation has about 17 nuclear submarines, whereas, as I emphasize again, the United States has about 70 of them. In the arsenal of the Russian Federation's Navy, in addition to 17 nuclear submarines, there are 33 diesel-electric submarines.
One of these Russian diesel-electric submarines, the Novorossiysk, broke down in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Europe a few weeks ago, becoming the subject of jokes by the NATO Secretary General.
Now, essentially, there is almost no Russian military presence left in the Mediterranean Sea. There is only one broken Russian submarine which, limping along like a lame duck, is making its way home from patrol.
For the North Atlantic Alliance, led by the United States, the Navy is key. It is a tool for deterring and influencing potential adversaries anywhere in the world.
The Navy is the pride of the United States, and it is the main component both in conducting military operations outside the United States and as an element of the United States military political presence in virtually every region of the globe. Let me remind you, the United States has the largest Navy in the world. Moreover, their main pride is the carrier strike groups, the aircraft carrier strike groups. They have a total of 11 aircraft carriers.
Ukraine has also made a significant contribution to reducing Russia's naval potential. According to the Ukrainian Navy, since the start of the full-scale war by the armed forces of Ukraine, with the help primarily of long-range missiles and unmanned naval drones, they destroyed 28 Russian ships, including the submarine Rostov-on-Don. Once the pride of Erefia, the Black Sea Fleet has been left without the Black Sea.
Every voice matters.
viewers, join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Ukraine strikes inside Russia, secret weapon takes out. Ukraine hits back, this time inside Russia. The head of the security service, Vasyl Malyuk, confirmed that Ukrainian forces destroyed a Russian system on enemy territory. The type of weapon used remains classified, but one thing is clear. Ukraine's defense industry is growing stronger every year. New weapons, new tactics and new victories on the horizon.
Ukraine has destroyed a Russian Arachnid on Russian territory. This was stated by the head of the SBU, Vasyl Malyuk. It has not been disclosed exactly what weapon was used by the Ukrainian special services. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian arms industry is expanding significantly every year. Ukraine is successfully using the Neptune and Flamingo missiles together to strike Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky told journalists about this and noted that while it's not being used on a large scale, it is already in use. These are the first tangible results regarding the weaponry.
In the future, I think that the missiles and missile strikes carried out with the Flamingo or Neptune will be accompanied by a greater variety of different types of unmanned systems, drones, each performing its own function. Some will distract air defenses, some will destroy air defenses, some will create interference, some will suppression using electronic warfare.
The president also mentioned the use of the Polyanitsia drone missile, which has already struck military depots dozens of times of the enemy. The second positive trend, Zelensky named the use of the Ruta drone missile, which for the first time flew 250 kilometers and struck an offshore platform.
We have quite a few developments specifically in drone missiles, and there are analysts who say that these are all small-sized cruise missiles. I don't quite agree with that for one simple reason. Usually a cruise missile is something that has some kind of wing mechanism. That is, the missile is launched either from the air or from the ground, then these wings unfold and they create aerodynamic lift, which allows the cruise missile to fly long distances. Our Ukrainian rocket drones, for example, have a fixed wing, that is, a wing that was installed once and for all and doesn't require any special launchers or special cases that are inserted into these launchers in order to ensure standardization.
However, the greatest success for the Ukrainians is considered to be the mass use of the kamikaze Lyuty drone, with up to 300 UAVs deployed.
A Lyuty is a system with a slightly different concept. It has nothing in common with the Shahed, neither externally nor internally. Both the control system and the guidance system are different. And the components it has, image recognition, target correction, artificial intelligence, they have absolutely nothing in common with the Shaheds.
The security service of Ukraine's naval drones have improved in both payload and range, now capable of striking targets over 1,500 kilometers away. They were first used in 2022 during the attack on Russian Black Sea Fleet ships in Sevastopol Bay. Since then, these drones have been constantly evolving and improving.
Our security service of Ukraine now has significantly more ways to destroy targets than before. And it's not just the Malyuk anymore, there are many other things as well. If there are tasks for the Malyuks are used. If there are tasks for other drones are used. Since
August of this year, it has been announced that the Flamingo missile has entered serial production, capable of striking targets at a distance of 3,000 kilometers. The modernized Neptune has been successfully striking ground targets for a year now. Currently, it can reach distances of up to 400 kilometers. It has been announced that soon it will be able to hit targets at 1,000 kilometers.
Finland deploys 15,000 troops, NATO's Northern Shield activated. Finland is taking no chances. Acting proactively, the country is sending 15,000 troops to its border with Russia for the largest military drills of the year. Conscripts, reservists and professional soldiers, joined by allied forces from Sweden and the United Kingdom, are training side by side. The message to Moscow is clear: the North is ready.
Acting proactively, Finland is deploying 15,000 troops to the border with Russia. The Finns are preparing for the largest series of military exercises of the year. Conscripts, reservists, professional soldiers, as well as units from allied countries, Sweden and the United Kingdom, will take part in them. According to the country's ground forces, the purpose of the maneuvers is to test the army's readiness to defend the state and to strengthen cooperation with NATO allies.
These are NATO's countermeasures in response to aggressive actions by the occupying country. On the territory of the occupying country, in close proximity to the Finnish border, there is currently intensive engineering construction of new military bases by the occupying country's army. This concerns Petrozavodsk, Kandalaksha and other settlements within the Russian Federation, which indicate the redeployment of Russian army units in direct proximity to the Finnish border.
One of the largest episodes will be the Livali Sentry exercise, which will take place in southern Finland from November 27th to December 4th. It will involve around 7,000 participants.
The Russian Federation has constantly made it clear to Finland that it poses a threat to this country. Moreover, there has been a constant element of military political pressure on Finland aimed accordingly at maintaining its so-called neutral status. In other words, there is absolutely no basis to claim that friendly or good neighborly relations were established after the occupation of Finnish territories. The Russian military presence near Finland's borders has been constantly increasing.
In the spring of 2023, Finland became a member of the North Atlantic Alliance. This provoked a sharp reaction from Russia, further worsening bilateral relations. In addition, Finland imposed sanctions against Russia and refused to grant asylum to Russians fleeing mobilization. After that, Putin's lackeys began blaming the Finns for every possible wrongdoing at every opportunity. For example, in September, former alcoholic president Dmitry Medvedev decided that Finland was preparing to attack Russia.
After joining NATO under the guise of defensive measures, Helsinki is pursuing a confrontational course, preparing for war with Russia, apparently setting up a springboard for an attack on us.
Moreover, according to him, Russia supposedly has a legal right to reparations from the Finns for World War II. He claims that at the time they paid too little thanks to the goodwill of the Russians.
This is actually an element of diplomatic military pressure on Finland, and similar statements are being made not only about Finland but also accordingly about Sweden. This also concerns the island of Gotland and accordingly Poland.
Following the alcoholic Medvedev, the chairman of the State Duma Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, also made aggressive statements. He stated, or rather threatened, that Russia is ready to defend itself at any moment since they have everything they need. Medvedev had previously spoken about this as well.
We cannot ignore the significant fact that Finland is currently a member of the North Atlantic Alliance, and this, in turn, predetermines changes in our military approaches to securing the border and responding to possible unfriendly acts.
The political and military leaders of Finland are doing everything they can to emphasize that an attack by Russia would be an act of suicidal madness.
The Russian Federation is demonstrating its readiness for a direct confrontation with the NATO bloc, and accordingly, the first countries that will be in the focus of the occupying country's army will be, respectively, Finland and the Baltic states. Therefore, the risks are quite high. This is also evidenced by the formation of new military units in the Leningrad military district and accordingly the deployment of military infrastructure directly near the borders with Finland.
Earlier, it became known that Finland had offered NATO to establish a new military base on its territory. Helsinki could become a base for large NATO reconnaissance drones.
That's all for today on Ukraine Today. If you believe the truth should be louder than propaganda, like, comment and subscribe. Your support helps us stay on the front line of information, expose the Kremlin's lies and defend Ukrainians' voice in the world. Stay strong, stay informed and stay with Ukraine.